Hello everybody, this is Enchants. Today I'm doing a Heirloom guide for 8.2.5. The last guide I did some years ago are still pretty popular, so I thought I wanted to do a new one now that I have leveled every class to 120 in BFA. Right now is a great time to do alts. I have also recently done a gearing guide for Leo alts if you're interested in that, so feel free to check that one out. But for now, we are focused on getting through 0 to 120, or even just 110 to 120. These items here for Heirlooms really matter. I can only stress how good it is. Now, granted, maybe they were better, back in, I want to say, Warlords of Draenor. That was a really powerful time where you could get up to 100% crit chance at low levels. Blizzard has definitely nerfed Heirlooms nowadays. They're not as strong as before, but they are still really relevant. So some quick things first. I'm not gonna show every class what heirlooms are best for them. I'm just gonna show armor types because it will be a little too long video. So in my case, I'm only gonna show one cloth, one leather, and so on. Also, I'm gonna leave some links and timestamps in the description below, so you can quickly find where you need to go, and also find resources that can help you further on to decide what is best for you and your particular class, even talents and stuff like that. It's a pretty good resources. I'm gonna link down in the description below, so feel free to check those out. And some last final information is just that I have a bias towards haste enchants for leveling. Some people maybe prefer versatility for kind of all around stats, some prefer crit. I just wanted to mention that because that is gonna be conflicting to some people, but I still feel like haste is the best overall stat to get for leveling, just because it reduces cooldowns, your spells and all that stuff. The damage part is maybe not gonna be that important unless you're perhaps a rogue, a field druid, or something like that. Okay, and then the first class is going to be for cloth. Now, cloth can also use offhands and one-handers and stuff like that, but the overall best weapon is going to be Grand Staff of Jordan, enchantable elemental force. Elemental force is a really great leveling enchant. Some might argue that it's worse after level 60, but overall I still aim for elemental force. Also, it's a pretty cheap enchant, so go with elemental force and Grand Staff of Jordan. For your legs, you're gonna enchant them with, I'm gonna put them up on the screen right now, but I can't quite remember them. The problem with shoulder enchants and leg enchants is that you need to have either like a demon hunter level it, or a character between, was it 85 to 90 to enchant them. This can be circumstance. I will try to leave info on the screen now, or info in the description below. But overall, enchant your heirlooms with that enchant there. I also again prefer the Tattered Dreadmist leggings just because they have haste and crit. And then for the rings, I definitely should say that you should try to aim to get the Stranglehold Veil fishing ring. This one can be pretty hard to get, but it's definitely better than having to use the strength variation or the agility variation of this one here. This is the second ring that I choose, and both of them are gonna be enchanted with haste. And then for trinkets, it's pretty easy, just the Discern and Eye of the Beast. This one seems pretty boring when you have other options that were recently added in BFA, but these items here not only give you raw intelligence, that's gonna boost your damage a lot actually, I would say. Passive intelligence is great. It also gives you mana when you kill a target, so it can be really good for classes that might have mana issues, or if you are farming where you're spending a lot of mana. And then for the chest, you're gonna use the Tattered Dreadmist robe, and this is going to be enchanted with stats. Overall a really good enchant, so every class gets to use this one. And then for your cloak, it's going to be the Ancient Broadwing cloak, and this one is going to be enchanted with Binary Intelligence. Can be a pretty expensive enchant. These can cost like 5 to 20,000 gold, even on my high pop realm. Not a lot of people are putting up this enchant, so you can consider cheaper variations. Those are definitely an option if you can't get Binding of Intelligence. And then again, the Exquisite Sunderseer mantle has a lot of haste, so I prefer these shoulders here for all cloth users. And then for amulet, you want the Manari Training Amulet. This one is enchanted with Mark of the Hidden Sanctuary, and it's just a really great heirloom amulet. It's so powerful, and the enchant is also really strong. And then for the helm, you want the Tattered Dreadmist Mask. Also really great choice again because of the haste. And that's pretty much it for all cloth users. Again, you should consider other enchants if you don't have them on the auction house for decent prices. They can be pretty expensive. And also, again, if you don't like Haste for some reason, that can also be switched out. Again, also Elemental Force, I really like this one, but a lot of people say it's bad after level 60, but I would tend to disagree. And so let's take a look at plate users. Now, plate user can also tank, so I'm also gonna go into a little bit about that. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about trinkets because it changes up a little bit from the cloth users. You can see here that I'm using 2 new trinkets, and these can be gotten pretty easily in BFA if you're already playing the content. But they are unique equipped, so you can't use 2 of these one with strain. That's just a little bit unfortunate because I think it's not really balanced that the other classes get to use such good trinkets when strained users one can only use 1 of each. But this is going to be the overall DPS choices for both Death Knights, Warriors, Paladins, and so forth. But for tanking, I would probably go with this one always, just because it's really great with the passive stamina, and the use is not really strong, like it gives a very little amount of mana. But it's always health, but it's always something. And then the other trinket would definitely be this one. Now, this one, however, is pretty great because it also gives some versatility for your party members, so it can be pretty fun to use for tanking. So these are off-spec trinkets, and also if you're going to be tanking with a shield, these are going to be the weapons. The parry enchant can be a bit annoying to get on certain realms, but if you can get the parry enchant, that is definitely the best heirloom enchant for shields right now. There's nothing better out there, sadly it's pretty weak, but that's the best we can do. And then for one hand, you're going to be using Elemental Force. Now, if you are a Death Knight and you're tanking with that as a two-hander, you're going to be using the Reforged True Silver Champion, and this weapon is also going to be the BS Heirloom weapon for Retribution Paladins, Furry Warriors, and I don't know if Arms Warrior, I guess Arms Warrior as well. So that's pretty much it for weapons and trinkets. And then for leggings, again, if you wanna enchant shoulders and leggings, you need to get either a Heirloom enchanted through an alt that is between 85 to 90, or you need a Demon Hunter. It can be a bit annoying, but I will try to leave resources in the description below on how to do that. And then for rings, again, you want the Stranglehold Veil ring with haste on it, and the Garrison mission ring heirloom here as well. These can be a bit annoying to get nowadays, but they're highly recommended. It really is nice to not worry about ring slots. And then for chest, you just want the Bonus Breastplate of Might. This one has a huge amount of haste, so it's definitely the best choice. And then for cloak, we want you can actually use a lot of the new cloaks that were added in BFA, but I still prefer this one just because it has crit and haste, which I would say are the better leveling stats if I had to choose between 2 stats overall. And then for shoulders, you want the Strengthened Stargate Pauldrons. This one has a huge amount of haste again as the chest, and they just they're a really great choice. And then for the amulet, you want the Maneri Training Amulet enchanted with Mark of the Hidden Satyr. It's an awesome amulet for leveling. It's really great, and so is the enchant. It can be again a bit expensive, like the rings enchants, or even like what was it called, this one here, Binding of Strain, but I still recommend trying to get it even if the enchant is pretty expensive. And then for the helm, you want the Burnished Helm of Might. So these are all the gear that I recommend for plate users, whether you are tanking, DPSing, etc. It's really easy to have everything for off specs when you have heirlooms going, so you can easily both tank and DPS while leveling. And so let's take a look at male users. Now, first of all, a little special mention for shamans. If you're an enhancement shaman, you want to use these ones here. Notice the 2.6 speed, that is important. You shouldn't really use a one-handed weapon for enchantments that were under that. That is kind of like the standard speed that most heirlooms also roll with, but I just wanted to kind of mention that. I think if for leveling, I would prefer a shield over using a two-hander as elemental shaman, but it's up to yourself. But yeah, I think that's enough for kind of mentioning, weapon choices for those kind of more niche specific things. Well, niche, I wouldn't say that elemental shamans are, but I still think that most people might do enhancement shaman for leveling. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, this is mostly just gonna be for the hunter as I'm logged into him now. But of course, all your other items can also be used for copying it over to an elemental shaman or restro shaman, whatever. But the first length is going to be the tarnished length of destruction. So again, if you wanna enchant your leggings or your shoulders, you should get a demon hunter or a character between 85 to 90. I will leave sources on how to do that in the description below, because it could be annoying to enchant your shoulders and your leggings. And then for the rings, you want the Stranglehold Veil ring and the Garrison Fishing Mission ring. These two rings can be very annoying to get, but I definitely recommend to try to get them. And then enchant them with Haste, very cheap as well if you just go with Seal of Haste. Definitely not very expensive. And now for the trinkets, it becomes a little bit fun. You can go with 2 of these Swift Hand of Justice if you like the heal. That can actually be a pretty great thing if you're AoE leveling and killing a lot of mobs and whatnot. It can keep your health up quite a bit. But I suggest that you maybe should just only use one of them, because you can use this one that was recently added in BFA that gives you a decent use if you're ever in group situations, or it can give you just a nice massive amount of passive agility, which really helps on your damage. And now for weapon here on a hunter, you're going to be using the charmed ancient bone bow. Why? Because it's just simply amazing with all that haste on it. It's really nice for haste for leveling, I would say. And then for leveling, enchanting even you want an incendiary ammunition. This is just the best overall enchants for hunters, and I think it was also not really expensive. I'm pretty sure that enchant is pretty common to get on most realms, so you can check the auction house out for prices, but there are maybe cheaper alternatives. And then for your chest, you want this one here, the Champion Death Dealer's Breastplate, enchanted with stats. Preferably this would also have haste on it, but you can kinda see that you can't really get haste on every slot. And then for cloak, you want the Inherited Cape of the Black Baron. There are new cloaks that were added in BFA, but I still prefer this one just because it has crit and haste. And then you want to enchant it with Binding of Agility. That can be very expensive enchant. Not every realm is definitely gonna have this one posted, but there are cheaper alternatives than Binding of Agility. And then 8 Pauldrons of the 5 Thunders. Just awesome with all the haste on it, so that's why we choose this one. And then for amulet, you want the Meneri Training Amulet, enchanted with Mark of the Hidden Satyr. It is so great, that enchant, and as well the use is really great for leveling, so definitely go with this amulet. And then for your helm, you want a Tarnished Raging Berserker's Helm with nice amount of haste again on it, just like the shoulders. So again, there are a few choices again if you want to do with leveling and whatnot for having a shield or anything like that. But overall, this is going to be kind of the main items you want to use on every single off spec whatever for male users, both hunters and shamans. And so let's take a look at leather armors. So this is for demon hunters, druids, rogues and monks. I'm going to be covering some niche things first, such as tanking on a monk or demon hunter, etc. There are some other things that normally DPS users would not use. So in terms of trinket choices, I would say for tanking you should be using the Dwarven Warhorn. This one is really great with all the passive stamina, and the use is pretty good as well. And then the other trinket is just going to be the Inherited Mark of Tyranny. It's not really as good as the other one, but it's still pretty good for tanking. Another trinket I would also say you should consider is this one, just because that 2% heal is actually pretty strong along with the haste. I really like this one. It's very undervalued, I would say, especially also for leather users that might tend to take more damage than other classes because they're more like in melee and whatnot. I quite like this one, definitely. And then for your overall, kind of like if you're tanking on a monk, also a Guardian Druid would also use this one. So both a monk tank and a Guardian Druid would be using these ones. And in terms of enchants, it would just be the same enchant as this one on the weapons here, Elemental Force. And for I think this would be for assassin rogues. Yeah, assassin rogues, they would be using balanced hurt seekers, also just with yeah, I can't even remember, elemental force. There you go. And then for combat rogues, I would think it's I can actually just quickly show you the weapon here for combat rogues, because it differs a little bit, but I want to be precise now for the guide here. It would probably be next page, of course. It would be Vulnerable's Delrin Sacred Shards. There you go. These are really easy to get as well, and they are definitely the best for combat rogues, and maybe even yeah, Wine Walkers as well. Wine Walker monks, and maybe some other classes. I think specs can maybe use these ones as well. But if you need yeah, if you need one-handers, these are definitely the best choice. But that's it for kind of the niche things, overall weapon choices for op specs and all that. So let's move on with kind of the normal items you use for every single spec, every class and whatnot. So first of all, it's going to be leggings here, stained Shadowcraft pants. And again, if you want to enchant your shoulders and your chant, you need a character between 85 to 90 or a demon hunter. It can be a bit annoying, but I will try to link kind of sources information in the description below to kind of know how to enchant these two items, because it can be a bit hard. And then for the ring choices, you want the Stranglehold Veil, a Dread Pirate Ring. It can be very hard to win the event, I guess, but it's well worth it to just get the Heirloom ring. And then for the other ring, it's just going to be the Garrison Mission Fishing Ring. It's really good as well, so just enchant those with Binding of Haste, Seal of Haste, whatever you might have gold for. It's kind of up to your own budget. And then for trinkets, it also becomes a bit funny, because you can choose to go with two of these Swift Hand of Justice. Most people can also access these ones. They're not too hard to get and whatnot. But if you can get the other ones, they're probably a little bit better. I don't really like this one. It's pretty weak. Plus 90 to crit is not that amazing, and the use is also kinda, it's okay, but it's, yeah, I'm not really a fan of this one. However, this one is really great. Getting passive agility can be a lot of damage. That's just, yeah, I love this one. And the use is also really great for group content if you're not rolling with a good tank or whatever, because again, you're in melee range as a DPS user, kind of like plate users, you're more at risk of getting aggro, so it can be pretty helpful to have these trinkets here. And then for weapon choices, specifically for Demon Hunter, in my case, it's just gonna be these Vulnerable Sacred Shards, Enchantable Elemental Force. And for the chest, you want the Stained Shadowcraft Tunic, enchanted with plus 20 stats or plus 20 stats, whatever it's called. Glorious Stats is the actual name. And then for cloak, now recently there was added some new cloaks in BFA, but they're still not better than the original Heirloom cloak here, just because the original cloak here has crit and haste, which I believe to be superior kind of stats. If I had to aim for two stats that are best for leveling, I would go with crit and haste. For enchants on the cloak, if you can afford it, you want the Binding of Agility. It can be very expensive to get this enchant here. It's really hard to find on some realms, just because not a lot of enchanters are posting it. And for the shoulders, you want the Exceptional Stormstride shoulders. Really excellent perhaps shoulders, because they have all that haste. So go for that one. And then for the amulet, you want the Maneri Training Amulet, enchanted with Mark of the Hidden Satyr. The enchant is really great, and so is the use for the amulet. It's such a perfect amulet to get for leveling. I highly recommend trying to get this one. And then for the helm, you want the Stained Shadowcraft cap. Awesome with all that haste. Really, really great. So that's it for all of the heirlooms on the leather users. And so here then, I just want to talk a little briefly about a few things. Now, I want to again mention enchants. A lot of options for cheaper variation are going to be in the description below for information, because a lot of enchants can be a bit annoying. Also, some of the heirlooms are pretty hard to get. I will just give like one example if I can just quickly find it. These ones here are from Brawlers, so if you haven't done the Brawl event in your capital, in my case for Alliance, it's in Stormwind Deep Tram. You should perhaps just go with the let's just scroll back again, try to find this one. You should just go with these ones here. These little things can really save a lot of time, because you don't want to go for the hardest heirlooms and whatnot. Another thing you should also not worry about is, in my case, since I was raiding a bit in Mr. Pandaria, I have some of the Mr. Pandaria heirlooms on leather users. I can just quickly show an example of that if I can just find it. These ones here. So just look at these stats here. It's absolutely amazing. Now you can only use this weapon from level 90, but imagine this one fully enchanted with the best gems that you can get for those prismatic sockets. It's really strong. And also there is some trinkets that came from that event back in Mr. Pandaria, like this one here. It's super strong. It's really awesome, especially if you're leveling Legion because of the amount of demons that we tend to face in that content. But of course, this is not something for everyone. So all the heirlooms that I kind of list in the video now is just gonna be the easiest, kind of best in slot, not complete overpowered heirlooms. Availability, kind of what the easiest path. Those are the ones that I showed off in the video. So again, consider enchants and everything. You can really save a lot of gold, and you can save a lot of times on what heirlooms you choose to get. But I really do cannot stress how much heirlooms do matter, because wow, it's still really strong to level with heirlooms, at least until BFA, because you do lose out on Azerite items, and that can be a very big controversial topic I'm not gonna talk about here. But a lot of people say that you shouldn't even use chest, shoulder, and heirlooms once you get to BFA, because you lose out on a lot of stats, like it's like 5,000, 10,000 health or something like that. So that's something to consider once you get to 110. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope this one was useful. Give it a like or whatever, and feel free to comment below if you have any information that I missed out on, any questions as well, because maybe a year or 2 or 3 years later, when this guide might be watched from you personally, you can maybe fill in if there's any bigger changes in WoW by then. So this is also again for BFA 8.25 2019. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a good one.